This is the March 13th, 2025 meeting of the Monmouth Planning Board. I'm Steve O'Donnell, the chair. I'll call this meeting to order. Here tonight, we have David Mills, David Shaw, Bonnie Green, Larry Saucier, and Ray Simon. Rick Grant, a regular meeting. Our member is working out of town today. And so Bonnie Green will be the voting member in his place. Do we want to take up the February 13th minutes?
We do that at the end.
Would you like to do that at the end? Okay, why don't we do that? So we've had a little kind of change on old business. We sort of understood that the 1063 Main Street project was going to be put off to a future meeting. So we kind of took it off the agenda as a formal item. We got a request from Jim Coffin to come in and sort of give us an update, which I understand there may be a revised plan. So we're not going to have any substantive discussion of this project until we have a revised plan. But he felt it important. You know, we've been kind of looking at this project for a while, and I think he wanted to come in tonight and kind of let the board and any public who was here know what was going on. But there's not going to be any real discussion about it other than to have Jim kind of tell us where we're at. So you have the floor.
Sure, Jim Coffin, Coffin Engineering, here with Chris Gould. So a couple updates. We met with, is it the utility district or water district?
Yes, the Water Association.
Thank you. We met with the Water Association last Saturday. Nice, with a 7 a.m. meeting. I haven't been to one that early on Saturday in a long time. Very good. I thought we had some good discussion on what was going on. I hope you agree. The real reason, we aren't coming on tonight is because we need to we kind of develop the subdivision and remove about 3 pounds of phosphorus because we aren't able to treat all that. We've had good discussions with Bill Monagle, who's also here tonight. And we've gone back and forth, and I think we've got a good game plan. I'm just not ready to show you my cards right now. We'd like to come back next month and we'll show you what we want to do. But that's where we're at. We're still going. Just letting you know that. Anything you want to add, Chris?
Yeah. And so, you know, hopefully, Jim, if, you know, we'd like to get things 10 days before the meeting, if possible, just so we can have that available for the public and for the board. So, you know, if there's any issue, just communicate with Isabel, the town planner.
She's been great.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you for
Appreciate
coming in.
Thank you.
Okay. So we'll move along. We have, that was the only old business item. We have some other projects that are still out there, but they've been tabled and we haven't heard from some applicants. So we're not showing every matter that the planning board may be involved in, but anyone that's going to come up for a meeting where should be on the agenda, you know, at least hopefully a week before the meeting. Okay, new business. We've received an application for amendment to a previously approved subdivision known as Hillcrest Estates subdivision, which was approved in 1997. So that's here tonight for an initial completeness review. And Paul Roop, you're representing the applicant. So we'll turn over discussion to you.
Yes, no, I know I submitted all the documents and Isabel has electronic copies. She also has a few other documents to distribute this evening. But as Steve mentioned, Hillcrest Estates was approved as a 9-lot subdivision in 1997, consisting of about 1,500 feet of road starting on Main Street opposite the credit union driveway and going up over the hill, making roughly a 90-degree curve and exiting with another curve onto Academy Road. At that time, there were 9 lots developed, roughly an acre or maybe just under an acre. Project set dormant till just this past year when the owner applicant Joe Crow of A&O Properties purchased the property, their financing, and started putting the road in, the approved road to the first lot 6. And it's now put in. Sewer has been put in, water has put in for approximately 500 feet. Some road base has been put in. But the applicant looked at it with the cost of utilities. Now, water was not available in 1997. Obviously, it is available because that was placed there. There's a link to Winthrop about 2000, 2001, some. The water will now service all the lots, so we're not depending on our private wells any longer. There was a stormwater plan submitted at that time. It primarily relied upon buffering, passive treatment through buffering. We're reworking, and Isabel has the stormwater quality report plan to be distributed this evening. Not to step on anyone's toes, but the 1997 stormwater report had never been approved. Plan in 1997 did not show the wetlands, the used wetlands to treat the thing. So we reworked it. The new plan still meets the phosphorus export standards. It's a detailed report by Blanchard Engineering out of Augusta. So this evening, the other major thing is we are reconfiguring the lots at the ridge or on the top of the hill, reducing the lot sizes up there on some of them because now Monmouth allows lots of a minimum of 75 feet of frontage, 15,000 square feet, but these lots will be all half acre or larger, and adding 4 additional lots to the northwesterly side or northerly side of Sandy Drive Road called, which were not on the 1997 plan. To add 16 additional lots, I believe it is. Pardon?
7 additional, 16
Yes.
total.
Okay, yes, that's right. So stormwater, the lots, and so you'll see in the stormwater report when, and I'm sure Bill will look at this. It's from DEP. Stormwater export still be met.
Still what?
Be met. In other words, the standard for what the allowed export is from the parcel size will be met. But we are adding, the project is adding a wet pond to treat a substantial portion. Lot development areas will be restricted to less than 12,000 square feet, including buildings, driveways, all of that. And there will be buffering on the lots, something like that. So this evening, we're looking for acceptance of the application, schedule a site plan, and begin the process rolling.
How large did you say that the lots will be?
The lots will be half acre or larger.
Or more,
or
not
more.
less?
Yes, that's correct. They were all designed. I think the smallest is if you have, I know somewhere it's in your package, you should have the subject. No,
That's not it.
no, that's the 1997. That was the 1997 plan, and that was put in the packet for
Reference.
reference.
Okay.
But let's see what's going on. The road was approved in 1997. The only thing we are making a change to the road, not so much to the center line alignment, well, except that lot 9, which is right on the corner. Because the road the alignment as it was configured in 1997 did not meet town standards. center line radius was way less than it should have been approved. It should not have been approved at that, but it was. So we're correcting that aspect of it. So there's a small amendment to do lot 9, but then it'll still be an acre or better size. The other lots, like I said, there'll be a minimum, I think, of 100 feet, 110 feet of road frontage and 22,000 square feet. A couple that will be in it, in an acre, a little bit more than an acre.
2,000 feet, say that again.
What?
110 feet of road.
22,000
20, thank you.
in the lot areas. Yeah.
So the other 5 lots, are they already built? How many lots are built?
There's only one lot built. That's the first lot. It's called lot 6 on the 1997 plan. And it's obviously continues with lot number 6. It's the first lot on the left that you drive in from Main Street.
And so some of the other, so that lot and then 4 other lots
Yeah, you'll have-
are remaining the same size
That's correct.
dimension.
Lot 7, 8. Lots 7, 8,
Yeah.
9, other than the small revision because of the radius at lot
Yeah.
9.
There's lot
And
6.
10 all remain the same. Lot 11, which was towards the Academy Road side of the project, has then been divided into 2 lots. And lots 12, 13, and 14 on the 1997 plan were divided, and then the additional lots were added on the north side of the road, 4 additional lots.
Oh, so it's right on the corner.
Kind of clarifies that.
Did you, I don't know, I know I delivered the plans. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know if you got them.
Well, I think they just came in.
No, that's the stormwater plan.
Oh, okay.
I delivered 9 sets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in a great big box. That's what I asked you.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that was what, oh, okay. All right,
So,
so we can get everyone those. I mean, for tonight's
This big.
purposes, yeah, for tonight's purposes, I don't think we
yeah, I
need.
didn't bring a plan with me. No, the,
We do have the stormwater, which showed a little bit more on, and then this is the 1997 plan that's being
Yeah.
referenced.
Yeah, okay, so.
but the, it was, can I have a copy of one of the stormwater? You'll get that.
I can tag to the second.
This is not, it shows the concepts of the lot layouts. Where the stormwater wet basin will be. The new lots coming down the north side of the road. Existing lot 6, 7, 8, and 9. See, we've changed this radius right there at lot 9 because that was too tight. They had essentially 0 radius on the right of way line, and I think it was only 50 feet or something at the center line. We're close to 100 feet. This is a typical building layout. Lot 10 remains the same. Now, this was a lot 11, but a lot 11 has been split into lots 11 and 12, and then we've added the lots on here and
And what happens to the other land
which that still remains undeveloped.
undeveloped? Are the lot owners gonna be able to access that for walking?
For the
or-
time being, there is a lot owners or homeowners association law bylaws, covenants. So
They're
yes,
gonna take care of the road, right?
that's
what-
correct. Yes. That's what's spelled out in the.
Yeah. No, okay.
Site distances on Academy Road for speed limits are more than adequate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tricky on curve.
yeah, but it's not that steep a curve. And if you were parked here, you can see several hundred feet down that way. You can also see down here, the key thing would be is not so much the curve, but the drop in grade.
Okay, 'cause, yeah, you can't see
Mm-hmm,
down.
yeah. but it's more than adequate.
That's the existing.
Yeah.
And then- and then-
That's the old, this is the old Robertson house.
Right.
Or,
Do you know what's gonna happen to that? 'Cause
we
it's
have
not-
to ask Chad, right?
Oh, okay.
That's.
Not part of
I
the,
don't know,
I
no,
know
it's
it's
not part
not.
of it.
yeah.
I know it's not, but it doesn't look like
The,
it's- anybody's in there.
Chad, right, he owns
Okay.
it, so that's me. The. To go back a little bit further, the 1994, yes, the lots fronting on Main Street were part of the original subdivision called the James Martin subdivision,
yeah.
which I did in 94. And the remainder of the land was sold to Dwight Nichols. That's when he came in and did the 1997 plan, labeling Hillcrest Estates. And now the current owner has picked it up.
Is this gonna remain the same name or is it gonna
Yes.
change?
Yeah, no, it still stays, we don't want to add more confusion.
Yeah, yeah.
It's Hillcrest Estates and we're actually coming in as an amendment.
Amendment.
That's why it's labeled.
Yeah.
You have to find out if they made a sign already.
Yeah. So you've got, currently there's power coming into
Yeah.
this
Power,
far.
yes, actually comes a little bit up past six.
Yeah,
That power, telephone and all that is below grade. All the utilities will be below grade.
oh, okay.
The sewer has been built up to this vicinity here. So the
15,
the front water is up about there.
Look at the front.
So most of the utilities will come in this way and
Yeah, well,
around, or-
obviously sewer has to work in
Yeah.
from Main Street because
Yeah.
the flow is all coming.
Coming
this way
down.
here. Fire protection will be provided by hydrants. I think there's
But those, the ones, I mean, the trailers.
two
they're
hydrants
considered
proposed.
part of
Bill, do you know? if-
Correct, on the corner and on Academy Street.
Yeah,
Actually, I'm not sure the one on Academy.
Basically, this is the third.
yeah, that might be subject to,
I think that, I think that's just gonna be for.
Main Street.
Mhm.
Yeah, 1997, they had the rest of it.
Yeah.
Now.
Now this,
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
so this evening, like I said, we're looking to acceptance of the application in the process. The road permits, DOT has provided road opening permits, that's all approved.
From before,
He just renewed them and got them,
Renewed them
and
with-
that's part of your packet. I thought you would have gotten the subdivision.
well, you know, and I kind of misunderstood what Darcy said, that,
I delivered that stuff.
Yeah,
and it was
it's,
there.
it's in the town office. I mean, we had another public hearing tonight, so things got a little discombobulated.
Joel, did you want us to add
Yeah.
add anything to it? You want to bring up about your application to Maine State Housing?
One of the reasons that we're bringing this forward right now is because of the utilities putting the city sewer and city waters in there. I've applied for some help with the infrastructure for Maine State Housing. We're in the application process now and we won't find out until come the end of spring, summertime, whether we get it or not. That's one of the reasons for also expanding the subdivision is working with Maine State Housing on affordable housing and putting some affordable houses in there, which means bringing down low market value for a lot of those homes. So just basically scaling back the house and bringing them more towards market value of Mainers.
So are these gonna be lots that you plan to develop yourself?
Yes.
And then sell them as developed or?
Yep, we're gonna stick build all of them. If we get the Maine State Housing application and we end up having to go through their process for the money that they've helped us with the infrastructure. So those will have to go through them, but yes, we're gonna be stick building and selling.
Would any be retained for lease by you as, or your
No.
company?
Nope.
You're
No,
just gonna,
none of the houses within there will be retained by the
Yeah.
town.
the motion, Larry?
Motion to accept the application.
Here a second. Been accepted by the town office, the planning board. All in favor of accepting the application formally by the planning board? Okay. Completeness. Have comments on that, Isabel, from what you've got to this point? I know you got some things today, so.
Yeah, so I just wanted to flag a couple of things. You'll see in the memo that I had flagged stormwater management as being something that was outstanding, knowing that they would bring that to this meeting, so
Okay.
I have that for you.
Yep.
The road alignment is being proposed. That's not a completeness item, but I did want to flag it in my memo that that's in an effort to meet today's road standards. That corner there was way too steep previously, or way too sharp previously. One other thing that I wanted to note was, this was something we ran into on the previous subdivision as well. We technically in our ordinance require a cost estimate to secure completion of all improvements proposed to be constructed. Until a contractor is really on board, or, you know, until this project moves along a little bit, that is really difficult to obtain. So I would suggest a condition of any future decision on this that is submitted post planning board decision. And then there is one other item with regard to the initial assessment of impact on town services. So typically in your packet, you would see some brief emails from town departments sort of providing initial comment on the application. I had offered to coordinate that on behalf of the applicants, so that is ongoing.
So in terms of completion, it appears at this point, if those comments that would make it complete, which we can know that, other than that,
Yeah,
You do have letters from the water association. That's in your packet. Bill has a letter from the sanitary district under my signature. Affirming the project availability service. The sewer district did prove that back in 1997.
I just, I mean, I put my computer up. Copy of that, is that it right there? This page? Yeah. This. I only copied a couple pages because I was gonna bring, I have no computer here, but I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, I think Steve, as well, because he talked about the main state housing application. So he's got that application in, but they rejected houses project.
It's still gonna go, so we already have financial backing from financiers, and we have a letter from NMX Savings. We also have been working with the town as far as trying to help with getting some sort of tip to help with that in there too. But that's one of the reasons we're doing that is we want to bring the community in there. We want to build affordable housing in there, not just high market value. So we've been working with Reagan and Justin since last April or May, actually, about this, to help do that, to be able to put affordable houses in there regardless of the main state housing application.
Part of your packet does include letters of credit or finance availability. It's
Okay, so I guess the next step would be a motion to find the application complete except for the items that are missing, and it looks like that might be police, public safety, fire, school. So do we have a motion to find it complete except for those items?
Make a motion and find a complete except for those items we talked.
Any, we have a second? Second by Dave Mills. Any further discussion on that completeness motion? If not, all in favor?
Unless Isabella finds something during her review that
Well,
we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, so all in, you know, like,
With the planner's recommendation, I'll add that to it.
yeah.
Thank you.
So do you accept that amendment?
Yes.
I do want to note that I'm currently seeing that this is complete as originally moved. Yeah.
Just covering all the bases.
Yep.
Yeah. So all in favor of that motion that's been amended? Site visit. Well, fee, is it, have we collected any fee yet?
Yeah, yes.
According to the slides,
Yeah, that was just approved a month ago. Last month, I think. Site visits. We're back so we can do these hopefully during the week. What's access gonna be like to the site?
well, the road is partially built, so yes, you could.
And a lot of the new development is gonna be closer to the academy end. Is there any?
That's correct. I mean, that, once the snow goes, that's still somewhat field, it's overgrown field.
Yeah,
It's not pinned or anything, it's not
been
marked.
Yeah, it's been cleared.
Has it been staked, so we can see where the lots are? Some of them, not obviously the new ones, yeah, and not towards the front line, so. I'd have to give you, basically, I can see some of the back pins, but not some
You
of the front
wanna,
pins. that
you
can
wanna see
on
the
view.
road center line up through there or the
Yeah,
corners. Give me a couple of weeks, please.
yeah, well, that's what I'm wondering is if this should be after the April meeting that we have this, you know, just thinking ground conditions to walk in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's still, I don't know, you probably know better, pockets of snow up on top of that.
yeah,
It's
there's,
difficult work.
walking through the field is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
For all the new blocks and stuff like that.
so we could see stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't bring you from where the road comes in up over the hill. That section would be muddy there, but coming in from the other side, it's all grass and it's not like it's where we put out the road and whatever. It's all just-
So what's the date of our April meeting? You got a calendar?
The 10th.
10th. That's kind of on the early side of the month. Would you be ready by April 3rd for a site?
Oh,
visit?
yeah. Yeah, it just, don't ask me for next week.
No, I'm
I've seen
thinking,
many other
you know, and that gives some more time for weather.
Yeah.
To
Dry out more.
Dry out. And if,
The snow we get out.
where would you suggest
Academy side?
coming by the academy
Yeah,
side
coming
for
by
the
the
site
academy
visit?
side, 'cause that's where most of the affected lots
Yeah.
are. The only ones you would end up seeing from the main street side is one of the lots.
Yeah,
That's the muddy side from here.
We gotta send out notices to abutters and we usually like to put the site visit date in that, so.
What time?
Well, 5:30, does that sound good? Site, 5:30 for a site visit, Ray, is that doable for? Lewis?
What day?
April 3rd is a Thursday.
Okay.
Bill, have you seen anything on this yet? Yeah,
Isabel has the stormwater.
okay,
And I looked at the original, I pulled both the Martin and the Hillcrest files from our file drawer and looked at what their previous.
so this isn't gonna require a DEP stormwater permit?
I think it may. I think it may.
Wetland.
Oh, what is it? It's gonna trigger it. It's gonna have 20,000.
Yes, it'll, yes. Between,
Yeah, and,
yeah, it's,
another developed area, but it's not gonna trigger a subdivision.
Yeah.
no,
It's
no, and
15 lots.
it's just under the stormwater.
And the pond, doesn't the pond require some type of DEP review?
I don't think, well, it will if he's gonna be including a stormwater permit there.
Yeah. So how soon are you gonna make that
We're making
determination?
that application concurrently.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Any member of the public or anyone else commenting on this at this point? And we're really, this is early days. So anticipate we could put this on the agenda again April 10, but whether we'll be ready substantively, see it. What comes in the meantime?
The only comment that I would have, my name is Cindy Parker, regular citizen, is that having noticing that you guys are seeing some of this stuff, the map, et cetera, some of the new, the stormwater, and et cetera, for the first time tonight, and then approve it 15 minutes later. Maybe that is fine and you've already seen a lot of what came before and that's fine, or that this is a regular matter of course.
Yeah, this is just the first step. So, we get information, make the public aware.
You don't necessarily have to review it. We just have to have it.
Yeah,
So we
That's
have,
that's what you're.
that's what we have.
That's
So
what you're-
tonight,
we're just approving that we have it.
we have it. And, it's not that this meets the requirements of the ordinance or
Yeah, I'm not-
any other thing.
We're not discussing quality, or completeness of the information. You're just,
Saying we got it. We got what you got. We now have to evaluate it.
yeah,
And,
either that or your agents.
right.
Representatives.
Yeah. So, Bill Monagle, Copsey Watershed here, and he gives us, information, sort of acts as our, source in terms of reviewing some of these numbers that come up from stormwater and phosphorus. Ultimately, the planning board has to decide, but we kind of, we want information from everybody that, has an interest in this project.
I mean, just to reinforce that, the road is not new. The road was approved in 1997, because I know I've heard comments around town, how can they be building the road? The road was approved in 1997.
It's really the lots that
And
are,
we are changing some of the lot configurations. We are making minor revisions to road approved in 1970 to bring it into compliance with the town standards for centerline radius. We are adding additional lots, yes, but we are also, I believe, providing a better stormwater quality management than was approved in 1997.
and this is in the Anabesica watershed.
No, it's all Wilson Pond.
It's all Wilson Pond because it's close to the
Yeah.
202.
The watershed boundary between Anabesica and Wilson Pond essentially runs along Main Street. So, it's water from the easterly side of Main Street runs towards Anabesica, Wilson Stream and Anabesica. The other side, actually side of this project, runs through and goes northerly to Wilson Pond.
All right, so we'll have the site visit on the 3rd and we'll be back here on the 10th to see where we're at. Thanks for coming in. So then we have another new matter, which is a shoreland zoning ordinance. This is the application in Cadman for an existing structure at 53 Colony Lane, Monmouth. You Dave?
Yeah.
Okay, come on. Come on up and tell us what you got.
Basically, it's just a little camp and it's always had a loft. That's, yes. Basically, they just want to bump it up a little bit so that you can stand up on the loft now.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be like a third of the camp.
That's what that window is, that there's like open area up there.
It's just gonna raise the roof up.
Yeah. And so that's what you're talking about when you talk about the loft.
Yes.
And the footprint remains the same?
Yeah.
Is there a loft?
This seems like odd that the planning board is reviewing this, and I understand
Yeah.
that. So the property in question is within the shoreline residential.
Yeah.
It is non-conforming with respect to water setbacks. It's about, give or take, 35 feet from the normal high water line. So the structure currently that you saw the photos of, the application had noted that it had been completely gutted down to the studs. And given that a vertical expansion is proposed, so you're familiar with the footprint expansion, we do those all the time.
Yeah.
Vertical expansions also technically require planning board review. So I think that's why the code enforcement officer kicked this one over to us.
Does it currently have a loft in the building? Yes, it does. So you're just pumping it up? Just so you can stand up and it was basically for kids before. Okay.
So how much will the roof go up about?
6 feet.
6 feet?
But not, it's actually, it sets in a bit and then going up 6 feet, so
Yeah.
it's not like 6 feet from the outside.
There's a picture
Yes, right there.
of the drawing.
Yeah, so it's from there, it's coming up 6 feet.
Is this the front? Does this face the water?
That is facing the road.
That's facing the road.
Yeah.
So it's the two windows.
No, those aren't gonna be like that. It's staying the same.
Yeah, so don't you see the one, there's the door.
Yeah,
And the windows,
so those two windows aren't gonna be there. It's just gonna be, it's all staying the same, just like it is. Except we're just bumping it up.
Here.
Yeah.
So this,
What's the existing foundation on that?
Front post.
Post.
Yeah.
Be good condition? Nothing have to do with it.
No, whoever did it, they put some, really big tapered posts under it years ago. You're not gonna have to do anything with the foundation, do you believe? No.
Yeah, because we're much more familiar with the footprint expansions and the vertical ones. I'm trying to remember one that we've had. That didn't also include the footprint, so it was compensated that.
Years ago, you used to let the code enforcement.
Yes, that's right, maybe that was it.
So just as an aside, not specific to this application, you can do that in your bylaw by adopting a provision that says that you would designate the code officer if you would like to do that in the future.
Which you used to do, because you didn't like to do these.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I worked with this gentleman on left side, right side, two down. I mean, we did a lot of them.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Bring it on.
Under applicant information. Property owner, is that Tim or Tina Schneider?
Tina owns it.
Tina?
Yeah.
Okay. So back in February of 22, it was sold to Samuel.
Sam sold it to Tina.
He did sell it to Tina.
Yeah.
So this is right near one of the ones we looked at.
Yes, yeah, down near the tree houses.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Cover that.
So this is gonna remain in the Snyder family, that's the plan. Does this also, looks like from the picture, there might be a little, wall behind it, so there's not much of,
Well, it looks like there's like a road behind it
oh,
too.
it's the street.
That's
So
that
it's the same way
Yeah.
that other place
Yeah, there
was.
was four cabins in a row.
Yeah, okay, now this is,
And I remodeled two of them.
yeah,
Now she wants to do the other two, but
She
we're
liked what you
starting with
did.
this one. Yeah.
so there's really not a lot of room to do any kind of movement.
Yeah, because it's right up a steep hill.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are the Snyder family, they're all the abutters? Is that right?
Yeah.
There's nobody we have to notify other than,
Right.
is it just Tina
It's
and
all
Sam?
family.
Or is there other? No, I didn't
It
look at
goes, the cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went down there.
We're doing this one.
Yeah,
She owns that one and that one. She owns that one and then her house is here. and then
Yeah.
Her brother's there. Her cousin's here. And then out back is all like association land.
I'm just thinking of the notices to abutters.
Here's the abutter.
Well,
There might be one on the Lee Lane and Sinclair Lane. I think from our tax maps, it looks like there might be
Scott
one.
Foreman.
Yeah.
We can let him know. I
well,
mean, he's,
yeah, I
he
don't,
visits constantly anyway.
yeah, well, it's just a matter that, you know, our ordinance has certain requirements that currently we're supposed to send out registered mail notices to abutters. What we've said is, you know, if abutters sign a waiver that they are aware that an application has been filed and they waive their right to receive a formal notice, you know, that might,
I'd sent his information in with the package.
yeah, I mean,
anyway.
we can do just the notices. I mean, if that may be simpler. I mean, I'm just not, based on what I've seen down there before,
Are we sure that we really,
I don't think we
Don't
need
want
a site visit, do we?
are we sure we just don't want the codes officer to do it? I mean, it's the height, as long as they keep under the height restrictions,
Well, I think we, you know, at this point, I think
or
we
you
can,
wanna start doing them.
well,
we can.
we could do this one certainly. I mean, it's here before us. But I don't think we need to do a site visit on this. But in my own view,
No, we did it last year.
we did it last year. It's
Yeah.
just one of the other cabins and,
Well, last year you did a site visit, I think, because I was doing a lot of excavation.
yeah, yeah.
That's correct.
Right, this one there isn't. And we're familiar with it, so, but I think to put the public on notice and the abutters, we should send out the notices and,
So with shoreland projects, you're not required to send out notices unless you're scheduling a formal public hearing.
oh, okay.
So if you were ready to, I'm sort of looking for some direction from you. However you want to handle it, I'm happy to send out notices to the couple of folks that aren't specifically related to this family. We can coordinate that easily.
Yeah,
Or if you're comfortable at this point, you know. Let me know.
Isn't this a public hearing? No? No, not.
well, not an official, it's a public meeting. And so there are some projects that if we feel they have some kind of significant impact, we do an extra notice process. And a lot of the shoreland ones, you know, we don't think it's impacts, you know, if it's a small little project. It's not like Camp Cobussy or Camp Kippewa or something. But I guess what my thought would be to have this come back for review at the next meeting. and send out some type of notice to those other people. But if, Bill, you're familiar with this area as
Yeah,
well.
and down the other side.
From a phosphorus standpoint, the typical,
It's not increasing the roof size.
yeah, not,
Yeah, you're not increasing the square footage, the footprint, you're not doing it, there's no soil disturbance.
Yeah.
This is a house remodel.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's really a house remodel.
Right.
If everyone feels we should do it tonight, I don't have a big issue with it, but,
There's no earth movement.
Nothing. The remodel.
That's why I said that,
yeah.
this
before.
is something that code enforcement.
Yeah.
Here's,
can handle.
I'll make the motion that we move this right back to the court enforcement. Let them,
Or we can approve it.
We can
It's-
approve it.
We can approve it.
We're right here.
We're
We can
right
do
here.
it.
and I make a motion.
Take it
that we-
off of his shoulders.
Yeah.
Take a motion to approve it.
Yeah.
Second.
Do we have to have any conditions added to it? Did you make some recommendations?
So what I would suggest, because I don't have draft findings available for both you and the public to
Yeah.
read, that we can approve this tonight, but I would need to come back with some draft findings at your next meeting for formal approval.
For a formal
Do that. Why don't we do that?
Perfect.
Okay.
That's good.
And Dave wouldn't have to come back for that,
No, I think that could be something that you all just
which
think
is
about.
kind of an administrative. All right.
How's that sound?
So Thursday night's card night, so.
Well, we're saving you some money, maybe. No?
How long have you been married?
Not the car.
Oh, okay. All right, so all in favor of that motion? Okay. So we'll get some draft findings and we'll look at those at the April meeting.
Yes.
That sounds good. Yeah, I think we can maybe set some kind of policy that we.
I would agree with that.
But it's
good for you to look at it once in a while.
yeah, again, it just started to, Dave looked familiar and looked at this, oh yeah,
The pictures, yeah,
pictures.
we've been there.
We've been there, done that. No, more than one, yeah. All righty, thanks for coming in.
Okay. What's my next step?
Next step is,
Together with Isabella. Okay.
Yeah, so just to clarify, the next step is just an administrative piece. They have to adopt formalized finding for you, for the permit to be released.
Okay,
But that's really it.
then I'll be notified.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll send it to you over email and
Okay,
send a follow up.
excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right. So, I think before we go to, well, the other business we have is, yeah. Just give a minute. Yeah.
And I would just give you a month. that-
Right, yeah, yeah.
But I would see it, different, you have to close it off from here.
You hear it every meeting, right? I'm talking about.
Right. So there's always a code enforcement review built
Yep, see you,
into.
Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
So, as many of you know, there's a committee that's been working on the comprehensive plan update of the town of Monmouth. It's been a project going on since COVID, before COVID, I think we started. Isabel has been involved, helping the committee write the plan. Got a couple of members of the planning board that are on that committee, but I think we thought it would be appropriate to have her speak about the comprehensive plan and where it is, because we're coming up to a public hearing in 2 weeks.
Yeah, do you mind letting me into the meeting just so I can share my screen?
You want me to?
Can you just
Accept
admit
it.
me?
Add her.
Add her.
Oh. Should be able to share my screen hopefully so that you can see what I'm talking about. I just have a couple of maps to share and some context what we've done thus far. Oh, and you might have to allow me to share as well.
We're getting good at this Zoom.
Ah,
Okay, sorry about that.
I don't know if you can expand, can you expand that?
There we go.
Yes, there we go.
Full screen it, maybe? The upper right, no, on the,
If you X out the participants, it makes it at least a little bit bigger.
yeah, there we
Yeah.
go.
There we go. Okay, so really where we are at this point, when I had sent out your packet, I invited those of you who aren't also on the committee to attend the public hearing that we're having on March 27th. Just to give you a brief update and overview of the process so far. Well, I should say the process at least since I've come on board, but as was mentioned, the committee has been working on this for a number of years before I was ever involved. So when I first came on in December of 2023, we really did a lot of existing conditions work, data analysis. Where is Monmouth today? What do we need today? All of that. Then we went through some public engagement that I'll talk about in some more detail over the summer. And actually the public engagement sort of overflowed into January of this year as well, when we had an additional public meeting specific to land use. And then we did a lot of work on goals, objectives, and actions, setting some specific goals, suggesting some checklists of items that if the town implemented it would allow us to accomplish the goals and the vision statement that was outlined in the plan. And then now we're at the point where on March 27th, we'll be having a public hearing. The comprehensive plan does need to be voted on officially by town voters. So I just watched the select board meeting where they are talking about doing an open town meeting format for this year. So we're anticipating that this will be on the June town meeting for consideration. But the public hearing is sort of the first step to that process. So just to let you know, in terms of public engagement, the committee did a survey itself back in 2019 that got 214 responses. We then did an updated survey in 2024 because we did have some new folks coming into the community in the 5 years that had lapsed between the initial survey and today's survey. So we did that in spring of 2024. And then over the summer, I did a variety of tabling conversations, and the committee held a community open house where we gave some context, got some initial feedback about what people wanted to see. And then we have also throughout the process, at least since I've been on board, have had 10 public meetings of the comprehensive plan committee that were, for the most part, fairly well attended. You know, sometimes we would get 10 to 12 people in the room with us giving us feedback. So that was great. And then, so all of those public engagement events, we started to get some pretty clear priorities of the community. So we started to hear a lot about recreation and culture, general transportation improvements, and then small business and cottage industry. And this is one of the posters that we had at our tabling events. If you look a little bit closely, you can start to see that some of these things were provided by children. So we really heard from all ages about what they wanted to see for Monmouth in the future. So in terms of recreation and culture, we had those tabling posters that I just showed. 36% of the responses were related to keeping or enhancing existing recreational programs and amenities. So the library, the theater, community festivals, just general community events. And then on the online survey, we had asked what would most improve quality of life in Monmouth over the next 10 to 15 years. And 50%, almost 51% really of those survey responses said increasing recreational opportunities, and about 29% said preserving more open space and natural resource areas. And then also on the online survey, we just asked the general open-ended question, I think Monmouth needs more. And about 19% of those responses said things like recreation, beach amenities, trails, open space areas, all of those things. And then in terms of transportation improvements, this was another big topic area throughout our community conversations. So again, about a third of the tabling poster responses were related to transportation improvements. These were primarily focused on capital improvements, so suggesting new locations for sidewalks and better maintaining existing roads and sidewalks, but there were also things like working to eliminate speeding and things like that. And then 61% of the online survey respondents noted that bicycle facilities, both on and off road, were lacking or severely lacking. And you might not think that's a big deal, you know, do we think that people care about bicycle facilities?
Yeah.
There actually was an option that said, it doesn't matter to me. So this is the 61% of people that said it matters to them, indicated that it was lacking or severely lacking. And then likewise with public transit, there was an option that you could have selected, this doesn't matter to me. 62% of people still noted that public transit is lacking or severely lacking. And on one of the tabling posters, I wonder if it was this one, we got some suggestions for doing some sort of a shuttle service or some sort of, even if that was just to get folks who are unable to drive back and forth to medical appointments or things like that. That was something that seemed to resonate with folks through their own words. And then one of the last major sort of topic areas or priorities that came up was around small business and what I call cottage industry. And that's really things like making baskets in your home or making soap out of your home, sort of these smaller home occupations or home-based businesses, but that really do add value to, especially in rural communities. And so again, when asked on the survey, what would most improve quality of life over the next 10 to 15 years, about 51% of people said preservation of the town's rural character. 31% said support for local agriculture and forestry. 43% said attracting more retail and service businesses, and 19% said attracting more local jobs. And just to note, you could choose up to 3 options. So I know that this doesn't add up to 100%, but you could choose up to your top 3. And then again, we asked just the open-ended question, I think Monmouth needs more. And about 18% of responses contained restaurants or dining options. This was that fill in the blank question. And then 17.4% just generally said business or jobs. So going back to our initial process, this is just sort of a highlight of the data analysis that we did. So first we heard what people wanted, and then we went through the data analysis that actually shows sort of where we might be lacking currently with regard to housing, economy, and transportation and infrastructure, and a variety of other topics, I should say, but these were sort of those big ticket ones. So with regard to housing, based on the current average household size and the amount that we are expected to grow, and we are expected to grow ever so slightly over the next 10 to 15 years, we'll need an additional 108 housing units to meet projected housing demand and some shifts in population, in the demographics of the population. The other thing that we saw is right now, there are not enough housing units targeted towards those that are making about $35,000 to about $50,000 a year. So that's that affordable housing or workforce housing. And depending on the household size, that works out to be about 60 to 80% of the area median income for Kennebec County. So there actually are incentives and provisions available for that kind of housing production. And then finally, the last thing that we really found in terms of housing was that housing specifically targeted towards older adults that would allow them to downsize would be beneficial. There are many people in the community that are living in 3 and 4 bedroom households when they're a single person. And I just want to be clear because this came up in conversation. The town cannot force anyone to give up their home or cannot force anyone to leave. But if I'm an older person looking to downsize and I've lived here my whole life, I might want to stay here and have a place that I could theoretically downsize. So that was one of the other big housing items that we found. And then again, in terms of economy, the data is bearing out that more people than ever are working remotely from Monmouth. So our people here on a day-to-day basis, in the middle of the day is higher than it's ever been. And that is good for retail and service-oriented businesses who, want to draw people in and have them work there or have them stop in for lunch or what have you during the day. And then the other big thing just mainly based on projected demographic shifts, but also because a lot of people in Monmouth currently work in healthcare. One of the other sort of opportunities for targeting a certain economic sector would be targeting sort of healthcare related businesses. And I want to note there that it is unlikely that the service center for healthcare is going to shift from, you sort of have the option here of either Augusta or Lewiston. But what Monmouth could really focus on is the more targeted or more specific healthcare industries, things that dermatology or some of these things where you're not having regular appointments, but you have a lot of people looking for appointments. So a little bit more specialized work. And then with transportation and infrastructure, development should generally be occurring in areas with existing sidewalks and roads and existing public sewer and water in order to minimize the cost of maintenance going forward. So that's one of the guidelines from the state. So we did a lot of work creating maps of where that existing infrastructure currently is to try to plan out our designated growth areas. So from all of the work that we did with hearing from the public, the data analysis that we did, and also working directly with some of the town committees, namely in this case, the Conservation Committee, we came up with this vision statement for the plan, which is really what all of the goals are targeted towards. So it's Monmouth is a multi-generational community, a great place to raise a family and a great place to retire. Over the next 10 years, we will focus on enhancing our community through quality of life improvements ranging from transportation upgrades and new sidewalks to enhancing or expanding access to recreational and cultural amenities. We will undertake careful planning to encourage small farms, local entrepreneurial endeavors, such as restaurants or retail spaces, and sufficient housing options to satisfy our changing community demographics. This will involve both clear regulation and the provision of incentives. Finally, we will recognize our natural resources and open spaces from the many lakes and ponds offering ample fisheries and recreational opportunities, to the ridges and valleys offering scenic views of the Western Mountains, to the wetlands, fields, and forests offering diverse wildlife habitats, as the economic and cultural cornerstones of our community, and will work to protect them in kind. So just to get into sort of the meat of the plan, and it's of particular relevance to the planning board. One of the things that the state requires in comprehensive planning is the identification of both growth and rural areas. And we really took a lot of this, and it's very much rooted in the public comment and the data analysis that I just shared. So what Monmouth wants and what it needs. So that being said, what we have done here is essentially the green area that's shown on your screen is the designated growth area. And the purple areas shown on your screen are the key rural areas. Everything else is just a general rural area, but key rural areas have some additional recommendations for protection. So because they might be, agricultural areas or areas with significant wildlife habitat or areas that are just in greater need of conservation.
Green area is essentially like from 202 coming down Main Street.
Yeah, and just to
On the center.
yes, and just to note with that, I actually pulled up the last comprehensive plan, which was done in 2007. And it is very, very similar to the last comprehensive plan's growth area. There's a little bit of a definition, change at the top there, but for the most part, it very much is similar to the last comprehensive plan's growth area.
Talk about the purple areas on that map, just so everyone understands that. That's.
Yeah, so I'll just talk about that in some detail. So anything outside of the green area is a rural area by the state's definitions, but the purple areas are what we're calling key rural areas. And those are areas, so for example, the area around Monmouth Ridge labeled on the map, that's Ridge Road, and that is a key agricultural area because it has some significant soils that would be good for farming in that area. So we really want to protect that activity there. And then the area sort of in North Monmouth on that side is the bog. So key habitat, key conservation area. And then the area around Sawyer Hill and Woodbury Hill is really a combination of the two. So there's some significant wetlands over there. There's some significant habitat area, but then there's also some areas that would be good for farming uses because of the soils that are in that area. So we really tried to pick out the specific areas that would be good areas to designate for agricultural uses. Just because of the resources that are available there. And I should say, not just good for those kind of things, but the kind of things we specifically want to encourage with any recommendations for those areas.
How does that coincide with all the solar panel fields that are going up, that they just take up lots and lots of farming land and everything like that? I mean, I don't think everybody has a real issue except, you know, some personal opinions. They look terrible, the ones that are in the intersections along 95. But we've got a real big one up on Ridge Road. There's another one going in on Berry Road. So how does that, do they consider that adverse? Or, because then you take it out?
Right. So this is one of the things this is a good question and I don't have a great answer for you at this point. But what I can say is the comprehensive plan provides a set of recommendations, but your regulations that you adopt have to match the recommendations of the comprehensive plan. So we didn't get into like specific recommendations around solar, but we did say that we want to protect and encourage agriculture in those designated areas specifically. And so one of the things that we have to consider as we're drafting any subsequent regulation is this meeting the goals of our comp plan?
Because nobody's gonna put a solar farm in an area where there's like ample forest and that type of thing. They're gonna go look for some field
Right.
that has minimal amount of timber and whatever else and just blanket that.
Right, so I might also say that, okay, maybe we need to figure out our regulations such that in those specific areas, it's either a little bit more difficult to develop solar or not allowed in those areas. Those are the kind of nitty-gritty details that we have to have in conversations around regulation changes. So this is the first step to change your regulations, but is only a set of recommendations. And then your regulation changes have to match what your comp plan says. As you go through and change your regulations, you have to make the case for how it is consistent with your comprehensive plan.
You don't say the word zoning. We just imply it.
And so.
Maybe at some point in time, you need to flip that rock over.
Yeah, and I mean, there's other ways, like, I think when we think zoning in Monmouth, we think traditional, what I call Euclidean, but the separation of uses. And there are a variety of other regulatory levers that you can pull before you get to the separation of uses. So one of the things we're gonna have to consider.
In other areas, you know, do we look at impact fees? That if you want to build in certain places,
It's gonna cost you.
it may cost you money. You know, there may need to be money set aside to protect open space or to protect agriculture or to encourage low-income housing or something. But that's, again, that comes phase 2 after we
Yeah.
get a plan in place that kind of
Pushes
steers
us.
us in the right direction.
Gets us going.
Because in a previous life, I was on a planning board in the location. And we had multiple smaller towns or villages within the larger town, if you will. And because we had developers, if you will, wanting to come in and they're gonna buy this farm and there's gonna be, you know, they're gonna sprinkle the seeds and they're gonna put 50 houses in there. So we ended up having to go through and we did adopt zoning. So you had, like, if you had a lot in town, you know, let's just say you had to have a minimum of 20,000 square feet. Then you went up, then we had a R2, which was 2 acres. And then when you got to something like up on Ridge Road, it was like an R5.
That's, 4 or 5 acres. Yeah.
Yes.
Isabel, follow up on his solar. There's a piece of legislation sitting in Augusta relative to screening solar projects. You got your finger on that? or-
I'm gonna talk to you about this after because I do. Yes, I just talked about this in a meeting today. Yes, and it's for certain kinds of projects, but I can kind of give you what I'm thinking in the details. Yeah. So just to give you a little bit more context about the growth area, so the state requires us to establish a growth area. Certain towns, like if you're a plantation or a township, get exemptions, but it's a very specific case that you'll get an exemption from establishing a growth area. So we had to establish one. The state requires that they're located in or adjacent to already populated areas, so where a little bit more dense development is occurring. Well served by public services, so generally walkable with sidewalks, there's interconnected roads, there's public sewer and water available. Ideally, it would be near existing fire and police stations to minimize emergency response times. Ideally, it would be located near schools and jobs so that kids can walk to school and you're close to your job. And then the state requires that it's proactively planned to accommodate a wide range of different land uses in compact, efficient development patterns. So encouraging mixed use development, like in a downtown or a village area, and nodes of development. So again, sort of a village concept where you have these nodes and then rural. Again, rural areas tend to have less infrastructure. They're anywhere outside of the designated growth area. They're usually driving distance from amenities like schools, jobs, and shopping. But that being said, they still deserve coordination and planning to mitigate impacts because this really might be the areas that are being conserved. So it might include areas like we did for agricultural uses, conservation, or other purposes. And then just a really important note. So the growth areas are areas where we are willing to invest public dollars to encourage development. Rural areas, they may still see private investment. I don't think that we can stop all private investment in the rural areas, at least not without adopting the Z word. So, but they won't see a lot of that public dollars because the state requires that at least 75% of capital improvement funding goes towards growth areas. So when you're considering where you want to expand sidewalks or expand trails or expand sewer and water infrastructure, a lot of that needs to be in the growth area. And then also, just as a note, the state prioritizes investment in growth areas when they make transportation improvements or when they decide where to site public buildings. So they're really prioritizing maintenance of roads that are based in growth areas as well. So next steps, public hearing on the draft plan is on March 27th, this room at 6:30. The full draft plan is available on the town's website on the calendar link for that meeting. So you can go there and see the entirety of the draft. There's also copies available in the town office, but we only have a couple of copies, so you have to view them there if you're interested in that. And this is really the first step in adoption and implementation, because eventually this will need to go on the warrant for that June town meeting, and need to be adopted by the voters before we go about starting our implementation process. Any other questions at this point?
Four of us here sitting at this table have been involved, so
Yes.
we're pretty familiar with.
And I thank you for sitting through another one of my presentations.
And I just wanted to check, so at the last comprehensive plan, we had the draft. That's the draft that you're going to talk about in the public hearing.
Well, I've formatted it, but it's the wording that you adopted, yes.
It's been tweaked a little bit, so you may
Okay.
want to take a peek.
Yeah. Well, I've skimmed it. I just want, basically, that's what we'll be doing on the 27th.
Yeah, so the committee has adopted now every chapter and every facet. I went through and added pictures and formatted it to
Okay.
make it a nice,
So it's
usable
pretty.
document. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Isabel.
Yes.
you.
We'll move on to public comment. Anyone here got comments tonight?
I would
Love to, as a member of the Monmouth Trails Committee, my name's Berlin Hughes. I'm here with, David Cody, who's also a member of the Trails Committee. We're here for the 1066 will come next time again. But, we actually did want to bring up something specific to the Trails Committee. We'd like to ask the planning board for potentially, what the process would be to request a letter of support for our RSU trails, trail project that we have got to we have a draft of it at this point, and we'd like to.
It's right in the middle of the green zone.
Yeah, so we'd love to just, know if that could become an item of business for the future or.
So the trails are on RSU land, is that entirely, or there's some private?
All the RSU.
Some of it was on.
No, I mean, we went and searched that area and did stuff, but for the write up right here and stuff, it's okay. RSU two. That could be like future expansion and stuff like that. I mean, we've searched a bunch of places around on this road.
Yeah, so in the past, of course, trails have been privately and sometimes through an entity have been developed. Planning board hasn't really looked at any that I can remember, that because of the way our ordinances
Did we look
are.
at Whittier?
I think we had to look at Whittier because it was associated, I think.
Because it was town property?
It was town property.
I think we did just because it was town. So, your problem, I think, is with the RSU. So if you get a letter from the RSU, I mean, we could look at that letter
Yeah.
and see if it meets the comp plan, say, or our ordinances and do that.
We can do that because I believe that we are looking to submit our grant and then.
For a grant, you might need that, right?
Yeah.
This works with the comprehensive plan and.
And with
we are-
existing ordinances.
Yeah.
Projection for this town is going and stuff like that.
So sometimes, the issue is, and this is, I've been involved in other towns where, say, Kennebec Land Trust is acquired a property and they're, say, putting in a parking lot. And so with these trails might have the benefit that you've got the school parking lot, right?
Yes,
Right.
we've got some designated spots where the
Yeah.
trails where you have some in that new parking lot over with the new school and then down the hill at the athletic fields at the high school.
Yeah. And I know interestingly, there's, the parking lot now on Prescott Hill Road for the trail there. And I don't know who did that or how that got done. I'm not sure.
Just
I'm not sure.
magically appeared.
Well, I'm not sure it would be a planning board item. I don't know if it's, it's kind of different. It's not like someone's running a business there, but, usually you want to make sure when a parking lot goes in, there are sight lines and drainage, that you're not creating some type of unsafe condition. But that would be something at some level, whether it's code enforcement or planning board, that there needs to be some kind of consideration of that. But you guys aren't there, that you're just really focusing on this RSU trail at this point.
That's the
Yeah, we-
funding we're chasing.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
now, yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of, I think you're saying that the board usually acts in a more quasi judicial sense where they're reviewing an application and against a set of standards rather than, writing letters of support for projects that might be consistent with the comprehensive plan, which while related to the work that you all do, isn't really the specific work that they do on a monthly basis, I guess is what I would say.
So it would be sort of wishy-washy what you get from us in a way, that yes, we've seen your plan, sounds like a good idea. It appears to be consistent with a comprehensive plan but it's not kind of the looking at this standard and that standard, it meets it because you're not really creating structure or this at least.
our letter would go to the RSU.
I see.
Because they're the entity that owns the,
Well-
you know, we would,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
And they've
unless
given
you
us
have a
permission to
release from
do-
the RSU that
Yeah.
they're in charge of it, how would you do that? I don't know how you.
What I
How you
heard
would
them
think
asking
that.
for was a letter of support, which is one of them wishy-washy thingies in a way.
Yeah.
It's not a letter of acceptance. Or, you know, a letter of,
Right.
yes, this is, you know, this is good. It's a
Yeah.
general letter of support, maybe even if there were individuals who were felt good enough about writing a letter of support. for the
Because
Trails
what
Committee,
we're
not
trying to
the
develop
board.
is the hub, so it's a universally accessible trail, so it's gonna be able to be used by anybody, wheelchair accessibility and year round. And it's gonna be our main hub here, and then eventually we're gonna have other projects that are going to branch off into a web of trails that are gonna be like all over town, which could help mitigate some of the transportation issues and, you know, some issues with not having sidewalks, but still having alternative transportation potential, possibly for those housing units that are being built in other places, to try to connect all that in a way that's meaningful and takes away some of the dangers of having certain age groups on the roads and stuff and getting them to other locations in a safer way and access to places that are a little bit more adventurous.
and you've been
Letters of
into, have you
support
been in,
needed for your grant
That-
application?
yes.
Yes,
you've been into the select board for that?
you got people that are going to the select board, we've gone to the RSU2 school
Yeah.
board several
Cause I,
times.
you know, I mean, not to say we wouldn't do something here at the planning board level, but you'd get something perhaps more, with more teeth for your grant purposes from the select board, because they represent, you know, we're appointed, they're elected.
Okay.
Right.
So they sort of,
Would it make sense to go to the comprehensive committee too and kind of complement their overall plan for the future based on that data and stuff that you came up with? It sounds like people are interested in these things.
and we've tried to address that.
Yeah, so what I was gonna suggest, and I think the point I was trying to make is, and I think your suggestion to go to the select board is a good one, because they're the more policy and legislative body almost. Versus the planning board, which is more quasi judicial in nature. But the comprehensive plan committee is a little bit more of a policy recommending body. So, I mean, I'm happy to put something together that just references the draft goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. I don't know if that satisfies your grant requirements.
I believe we're looking for some sort of like approval, not approval, sorry, but support for this project by as much of the town as we can, like as many aspects of town governance as we can manage for the grant. So,
Could you say that it meets the basic criteria of the comprehensive plan?
Or the basic recommendations.
Recommendations of the planning board? So at least you have something that says, yes,
Yes.
and it won't have any teeth in it till June.
Which is fine.
But, you know,
Right.
That's what our
Yeah.
Exactly, just so that we can say, hey, we're, they know this they know, this.
I think it would be better coming from the comp plan.
Then we will do that,
I
yeah.
mean, I have a paper copy of the RSU2 accessible trail system design demo.
Okay.
If you want one for the
Yeah.
comprehensive committee.
Yeah.
Take a look at it.
Have you had any issues? I know this was brought up in previous planning board meetings from the 1063.
I think we should not
No, yeah.
discuss.
Oh, we're
Yeah.
holding
Okay.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will come back for, yes, thank you.
What was that say? Have you, Joel, you're on the conservation committee?
Yes.
And have you been?
We have been asked and we are drafting a
Letter,
letter. of
yeah, I was just gonna
support
say,
to Submit to the
yeah.
select board.
Again,
I
that's
see.
perfect.
Okay.
Yep. Right, and I think that should cover our basis for the grant, just so that they know.
What is the date on the grant?
We have to have it submitted by June, so we have, and we already have it drafted, completely drafted, we're just getting our approvals and our the permissions from the state.
Got it. Yeah, we're reaching out to let them know what we're doing it to.
Yeah, be a good idea, if you can, if some of you could come to the meeting in 2 weeks, that's.
Oh, yeah, oh, well, we were gonna come forward.
Yeah, we're meeting on the
So you'll
18th,
see
so
us.
we're gonna
Yeah.
figure out who's gonna go out.
So.
they reach out to Bill McGonigal?
Cobussy Watershed District.
Potentially. Yeah, okay.
Well, you know, and I
I
don't
know,
know,
it's tricky.
yeah, I'm not sure that's within
We are gonna reach
Very-
out to DEP.
area of
Does
interest.
that fall under his, or is he?
Well, they're a separate entity.
They are,
And
okay.
yes, it would be, if you're creating an impervious surface,
Mhm.
then,
We're not.
well, you're talking about being handicap accessible.
It will still be,
Thing is-
it will still be gravel though.
If it's in resource protection. It's not in resource protection, we're going to DEP.
That's what the grant requires.
Oh, does it?
Yeah,
Okay.
they want us to be very thorough with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
we
them to
hired out a
basically say, you
consultant
don't
from
need to talk to
OSI
us,
to
is what.
do a
Yeah.
walkthrough, and that's what the report is all his recommendations. He's got it
He
listed.
had two for Woody Woods.
Yeah.
even
Because
though
we
there
had
was no
bridges.
impervious.
Yeah, we're having a boardwalk.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that.
So
That's
boardwalk
also-
is impervious, so you
Yeah,
might have
okay,
some.
So then, yeah, so then we might be sure to go then.
You're right.
Yeah.
I guess we'd have to see the lay of the land.
Yeah,
So
we
we'd
have to.
See a map that has wetlands. Have you had to delineate wetlands on these trails?
Oh, yeah, Steve, the gentleman from OSI, he went through and did a walkthrough and then came back the next day and he has in all the plans how to go about those things.
So maybe Bill, you might
Yeah.
wanna knock on his door.
That sounds.
Okay.
Yeah,
Plan.
and he's very accessible and their office is very helpful.
We will-
But yeah, getting that to the comp plan would be.
Yeah.
Any other comments, public comments tonight? We got the minutes. We need to go back to our minutes.
And one thing, Steve,
Yeah,
it seems like every meeting, we're always moving the minutes down to the end. And we, on the, off the
Agenda.
agenda, move it down to the bottom automatic, so that way we don't go through this.
well, I just want, my concern is when we have an ongoing project and we're discussing it,
You wanna make sure the minutes.
we want to get the minutes up front on those. I mean, tonight, we didn't really have any.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah,
It seems like we're always moving it on the
Yeah.
bottom.
Right. We have something we discussed twice in a month, in a month.
Yep, you wanna
Yeah.
make sure,
We wanna make sure that the first month had the minutes correct.
okay.
Especially when we go on to discuss a project. And it's the typical way is that it's at the beginning of the meeting. Sometimes to not have people wait around, like Jim Coffin came tonight, was here for like 3 minutes. They try to accommodate people who developers paying for their time. Sometimes we have to do the minutes. But I think it's a good point. Larry. So I would entertain a motion on the minutes.
I make a motion to accept the minutes. February 20th, 2025.
Second,
Second by Bonnie, any discussion on those? All in favor of accepting those minutes? Yes,
I was there after.
I was not. Yeah, all right,
So
so,
voted today.
yeah, Dave, HR voting for Dave Mills on the minutes. Good.
All right, I have a number of items to.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, it might be easier if I just have you take one and pass it down. I think that one's all done.
I guess we can adjourn the meeting while we're doing this.
Yeah, this is what it says there.
Yeah, I think you can stop the recording. We've adjourned.
Adjourned.